take it with me to Psalm 17 as we keep walking through these songs that David wrote. And most of book 1 of Psalms is written or attributed to David. And so it's kind of interesting that we get to dive in time and time again. David has always been like my favorite character in the Bible. Obviously outside of Jesus. Jesus is my favorite character in the Bible. But I'm saying outside of Jesus, David has been my favorite character in the Bible for as long as I can remember. And so getting to read the beauty of his work week after week is kind of cool. As we look at this today, I just want to know if any of you can identify with this statement. People always have something to say about you. I mean, is that true? People always have something to say. And it's incredible how regularly people feel the need, the calling, the right, the whatever, to comment on you and your life and your choices and your look and your whatever, as though they have authority to do so. It can get frustrating. It can get hard. It can get wearisome. As I thought about this week, I thought back to a time when I was an assistant pastor at a church. And when Dana and I got married, we started attending this church. It was a very conservative Baptist church. We were hymns only. Like, this would have been terrible, right? We were hymns only. If you were a vocalist and you were singing a song, we thought it was wrong for someone to hold a mic. Yeah, some of you were there. See, I'm not lying. Right? We wore suits and ties and dresses. I mean, I didn't wear a dress, but some ladies wore dresses. I wore a suit and tie on Sunday. We signed pledges not to go to the movies, not to drink, not to listen to secular music, like very strict Baptist church. And then God made a change in that church. And it was not without mistakes, lots of mistakes and plenty of hurt. But things really changed. And we went from this very stringent church into a church that's a little more like what we have here. And there were consequences to that. And one of the unforeseen consequences to that was, believe it or not, our softball team. And that sounds strange. And it is strange. But that was one of the consequences, was our softball team. We were in a league with other very conservative churches, and they found out we had changed. And so I remember going into a league meeting with our coach, who was Dan Rosinski at the time, and sitting at this league meeting with all these pastors and coaches, and the topic of our church came up about how we had changed. And the rest of the league saw our change as a church as reflecting the fact that we had compromised truth, that we had walked away from genuine faith, and that we were now headed on a path that was to devastation and darkness. The thing is, I had never been more spiritually alive, never felt the presence of God more in my life, never been more serious about my faith, never been more excited about my faith than ever before. And so what they were saying and what was true were two different things. Vastly different things. But this was the league meeting, and they were all... I remember one of them picked up an article from the paper that had been done on our church, and they showed that there was a drum set. And they pointed at it very emphatically to the rest, and literally the entire room gasped. Literally. I mean, it was like we were one step away from the gates of hell because we had brought drums into the church. And so they voted unanimously to kick us out of the league. We could not play softball with them anymore because we had changed as a church. And what I can say to you is, I mean, I look back on it now, I'm like, that's so dumb. But in that moment, and especially as a young man, I was a debater as a young man. I debated with whoever I thought was wrong. I actually carried on a debate with my college at one point, the administrative academic dean of my school. So I didn't back down from fights, right? And so I'm sitting here, and they're saying these things, and everything in me wants to answer, wants to say something back to them, because it felt very unjust, it felt very wrong. And so what do we do about that? How do we deal with people who are saying things about us in hurtful ways? More specifically, when people respond to us in some wrong way, some way that isn't even true, what do we do about that? The big question in this for me was that sense of rejection and criticism. It was hard not to defend myself. But what God was asking me is, whose response matters, Mark? Whose response really matters to you? Not that people don't matter, but the reality is you've got to choose somebody to listen to, somebody that's going to be your base. Something somewhere has got to say, this is what's true, and everything else has got to be evaluated next to that. Who is that for you? For some of us, we don't have a base. We just take whatever the next person's input is. And so over here, these people say this, and you react and you respond. And then over here, these people say this, and you react and you respond. And then over here, these people say this, and you change. And there are 3 different reactions because you just keep bouncing around. It's exhausting, isn't it? Question is, whose response is going to matter to you? Do I need to care in this meeting? Do I need to care about what all these pastors and coaches think? Do I need to set them right? Do their words determine the truth about me? And are my words necessary to try to change their opinion? If you're honest, if I'm honest, we all have places that we look for identity. Almost like we're looking in a mirror, trying to find out something about ourselves. So I'm asking you today, who tells you, men, that you're man enough? I would say a lot of the violence in our world is about people trying to prove that they're man enough. But nobody's ever told them how to figure out if they're man enough. Who tells you if you're a good mom, ladies? Who tells you that you're successful? When do you know that you're successful? Well, whose feedback tells you that? Who tells you that you're attractive and desirable as a person? Who decides whether you're an old person or a young person? Who's the words that speak to you that say you're valuable, that you matter, that you belong? Whose response matters to you? It's a struggle to overcome our default human response. It's a struggle for me to overcome my default human response because I want everyone and anyone to give me feedback that tells me I'm something, right? How about you? I want feedback that makes me feel like I matter. And so many times we read through Psalms, and this is one of those Psalms where it's got a lot in it, but the theme I want to pull out is the answer to that question, whose response matters? And it's David's answer to that question, whose response matters to me? It's a really, really important one. And so what we're going to talk about today is the difference between freedom and fear. The difference between living in insecurity and living with a healthy view of yourself. Who tells you who you are? Who tells you what's right and wrong? Who tells you whether you're on the right path or not? Who tells you whether you matter or not? Is it the fickle opinion of people? I don't know if you've noticed this, but people change their minds a lot. It can get frustrating. You listen to somebody's input, and then you adapt to it, and then you show up confident that now they will think you're right, you've done the right thing, you're acceptable, you're attractive, you're whatever, and they change their mind. And then they think something else, and you chase that. People's opinion is fickle. And on top of that, they've got a horse in the race. There's something in it for themselves. You don't see this all the time, but it's more about what they're trying to do for themselves than what they're actually trying to say about you. Is there a better option than looking to people and their response and basing my life off of that? Is there someone who isn't in it for themselves, who knows you completely and always judges rightly? And at the end of this, the question is, will you work on choosing again and again a person's response that is reliably accurate and unfailingly good? So in Psalm 17, David starts off, we're going to read verses 1 to 5, and we're going to start off with David making a claim or an invitation to God Almighty. Here's what he says. Hear me, Lord, my plea is just. Listen to my cry. Hear my prayer. It does not rise from deceitful lips. Let my vindication come from you. May your eyes see what is right. Though you probe my heart, though you examine me at night and test me, you will find I have planned no evil. My mouth has not transgressed. Though people tried to bribe me, I have kept myself from the ways of the violent. though through what your lips have commanded. My steps have held to your paths. My feet have not stumbled. So we open up this psalm, and David is crying out to the Lord. And what he's saying to God is, here's my case, God. I'm going to tell you what I think about my life, but I'm going to recognize in this, God, you're the one who decides what's right and wrong. You see perfectly, so here's my stuff. You tell me. What of this stays? What of this goes? What's right? What's wrong? I think I've done everything that I should be doing. But you tell me. And so he goes to God. He says, God, hear me, listen to me. But he doesn't go to God in a manipulative way. He doesn't go to God to try to get God on his side. He goes to God to find out what side God's on so David can get on that side. Now that's a novel concept, I know. Especially if you turn on the TV and listen to people who are talking for God on the TV a lot of times. They want you to get God on your side. They want to get for you to get God to do your things, the things you've asked him to do, to have miracle working power according to whatever you command and say. But what about if we went to God to get on his side? What about if we went to God and said, God, you're right, period. Show me. Examine me. Look at me. Take your eyes and look up my life and tell me what's what. It's abandoning yourself to the ultimate knowledge that God has about each of us. David clearly believes he's innocent. I haven't done anything wrong, but it looks like there's a group of people that think he's done something wrong and they are talking about him. So what do we do in that situation? David says this, I will focus on God's response. I will focus on what God says about me. I will believe what God says about me. I will seek God's opinion of me, and that's it. I'm not going to zero in on what this person thinks or that person thinks. Some of you know this really intimately, where you lose sleep or you lose the ability to enjoy an evening of rest or even a meal because you're so focused on what somebody said. And it eats you up. And I'm not saying that there isn't a pull to that. That's what I'm saying. This is a battle. This is a battle for me. You get pulled into it because it hurts and because it has some element of truth in it and it's misunderstood and you want to set it right. But what's the ultimate end of that? You're churning, right? David says, I am going to leave that aside. I'm going to listen to what you say. Here's my life, God. Examine me. You tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I'm going to fix my eyes on the one who perfectly judges. So I'm asking us today, are we willing to embrace God as our judge? Like, in other words, God is going to judge you whether you embrace it or not, okay? I got news for you. You're like, well, I don't even believe in God. Well, guess what? You're going to stand before him anyway. So it doesn't really matter if you believe in God or not. He's still your judge. It's just the way it works. That's the one who creates is the one who has the final say over what he created. So God created you. You're going to stand in front of him. But right now in my life today, as a believer, I call him Lord. Am I acting like he's Lord? In other words, does he have the right to judge me? Not me. I'm not the judge. You're the judge. So you rationalize your behaviors. You rationalize your behaviors about, should I go to church or not go to church? Should I give or not give? Should I swear or not swear? Should I, be greedy or not? Like all that stuff. And it's just this way. I have bitterness because somebody hurt me or what. You rationalize it. What I'm saying is, are you willing to stop with all that mess and say, God, you show me. You're my judge. I'm not going to buck against you because you're right. I'm not going to live in rebellion. I'm going to live embracing you as my judge. And David says, people tried to bribe me, but I've kept myself from the way of violence. In other words, I had plenty of chances to go wrong, but I refused to do it. Sometimes the hardest thing is when somebody accuses you of doing something wrong and you know you deliberately chose to do the opposite of that, but they accuse you of it anyway. It is that completely unfounded thing that they are accusing you of. But God, judge me. Show me if I'm wrong. Show me if I've missed something. Show me if I'm blind. God, you reveal to me the truth because it's not so important whether they're right or I'm right. I already know who's right, and I'm going to open my ear to him. People of God, do we have this heart? Do we have a passion for God to be the one who tells us what's right and what's wrong in our lives? We can find ourselves in that circumstance where people are accusing us and they're wrongly accusing us. And I will tell you from my experience, it is deflating, it is discouraging, and at times it can make you feel defeated. So what do you do with that? Some people turn to bitterness. It's just not right. And they just live with that clenched fist thing. Some people isolate. Well, I'm just not going to be around people. I'm not going to let anybody in. Some people turn to pride and, well, I'm better than you and you don't know what you're talking about anyway. Some people even turn to violence saying, don't say that about me or I will stop you from saying that about me. But I'm telling you, all of those responses are not responses of faith. Faith responses are, God, you judge me. You show me. You are the truth giver. Reveal the truth to me. And I'm telling you, if we all kind of believe that God knows right from wrong. We all kind of believe that God is the one who has the final. We kind of believe that. But if you would live it, what would it mean for your life if you lived it? Two things came to my mind. If you lived like God's say was the say that mattered in your life, it would mean freedom. Freedom you can't even imagine if you haven't tasted it. Freedom from what everybody thinks all the time. Freedom from whether you measure up or don't measure up. Freedom from whether you're weird or abnormal or whether you fit in or... Freedom. It would mean less stress. It would mean living who you actually are. It would be the ability to fully enjoy whatever God gives you without concern about what everybody thinks about what you're doing. Freedom. If you would let God be your judge and His opinion be the one that matters. And the other thing it means is purpose. That you could actually live for what you were made for. Instead of worrying about what everybody thinks about what you're doing, you could say, God, you tell me what to do, and I'll do that. Now, I'll tell you, when I decided that this was the thing God wanted me to do, that I was supposed to be in ministry and a pastor or whatever, there were people who thought that was a very unwise decision. Because my background is in a whole different field. My background was in engineering, and I really had good grades in engineering and really had a very promising career in engineering and could have made a lot more money. And so there are people who looked at it and thought, I don't know if you want to do that. You can volunteer at church anytime. Literally, I had people in my church tell me this. I have family members tell me this. You can volunteer at church anytime. But your job is your job. So what do I do with that? How do I steer on a course that I'm not going to regret? You know how you do it? All right, Lord, you tell me. Tune everything out. Your response is the one that matters. You tell me. And then you follow courageously wherever God takes. I'm not saying nobody else's input matters, because there's counsel is good and can be helpful. When you have close friends, sometimes God uses them. But ultimately, it's not about seeking their approval. It's not about getting their pat on the back. It's not about getting their thumbs up. It's not about getting anybody to think anything about you. It's about, God, you show me. Because you're the one who's right. And that's what David comes to. Verse 6 to 12, here's what he says. I call on you, God, my God, for you will answer me. Turn your ear to me and hear my prayer. Show me the wonders of your great love, you who save by your right hand. Those who take refuge in you from their foes, keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked who are out to destroy me, from my mortal enemies who surround me. They close up their callous hearts, and with their mouth they speak arrogance. They have tracked me down. They now surround me with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for the prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. David says, I presented myself to you, God. You judge me. And then he says, I'm going to fix my eyes on what you think. I'm going to recognize that there are all kinds of people with all kinds of agendas about me, but I want what you think. So you show me. And he says that. He says, show me the wonders of your great love. Show me that you love me. I want to believe that you love me. So show it to me. In other words, you can go through life wondering if you're a lovable person or not. And you can try to look at everybody's reaction to you and try to decide if you are a lovable person or not. Or you can come to your Creator and say, show me the wonders of your love. And let God show you how He loves you. Then you can go into relationships with other people knowing you're loved, knowing you matter by faith because of what God says about you. And you're free to love them. Because you don't need anything from them. God's fulfilled my need. Now I can go and be selfless with other people. There's such freedom and power in that. David says, I'm going to fix my eyes on what you say about me. I'm going to fix my eyes on the idea that you protect me, that you have the shadow of your wings. And that's the picture of a parent bird hiding young ones under their wings to protect them from the elements or from predators seeing them or whatever, hiding them under the shadow of their wings. And then he says, keep me as the apple of your eye. The apple of your eye is really, you hear that phrase a lot. Probably what it means is the pupil of your eye, the very center of your eye. Now, if I could have a demonstration up here, which I won't because nobody would volunteer, but if I did, and one of you volunteered, and I had you open your eye and I started coming at you with my finger, what are you going to do with your eye? You close your eye. Why are you going to close your eye? Because you naturally protect the apple of your eye. Reflects, you turn your head, right? If something's coming at you, you protect your eyes. Probably more than anything else in your body, you protect your eyes. So that idea of when David says, protect me as the apple of your eye, keep me as the apple of your eye, is keep me as your most protected, precious thing. The thing that you value, the thing that you reflexively protect. I'm asking today, as David says, I believe that. Do you believe that? Do you think God thinks about you that way? That God loves you, that God protects you, and that it is His reflex to protect you? And if you matter to God, do you matter? Like, is the question settled? If you matter to God, is that the end of it? Is that your foundation? If you belong, if God invites you to belong, do you belong? Or do you still need to belong somewhere else? It is the simple yet profound faith choice that you have to choose like David did in the face of feelings, in the face of danger, that God says this, it is true. Situations and circumstances will try to pry your fingers away from these simple faith things. Because people around you, that's what he says, the wicked are out to destroy me. They surround me. They close in with their callous heart. Their mouths speak arrogance. They track me down. They surround me like prey. They are like a hungry lion. They think I'm weak. They think I'm defenseless. They think I'm vulnerable. They think I'm helpless. So let's expand it. People think I'm weird. People think I'm dumb. People think I'm unattractive. People think I'm unlovable. People think I'll never amount to anything. Fill in the blank. What people think about you. And then what David does is he says, that's what they think, God, but I care what you think. This is the calling that God has to set you free from chains that have probably bound you for your whole life. There are voices inside of you that have really big voices. And I'm not saying that God didn't put them there for some reason, but I'm saying they are not the ultimate word on you. God is the ultimate word on you. And you've got to find a way to get a grip on that. And say, God, I will believe what you say about me. I will tune out what others have to say. I will stop trying to guess what others have to say. And I will tune into you. This is a really hard job. Great way to stretch your faith, because faith is not just believing that you can walk on water or that your prayers are heard. Faith is turning away from what feels true or what seems true by faith because God says differently. Will we do that? And then what David does, which is what I had to do with my group of pastors and coaches, is say, God, you know what? They all say all this stuff and whatever. You deal with them. You deal with them. I'm telling you, there's freedom in this. It feels like surrender, but I'm telling you, there's freedom in this. I don't have to set them right. I know this is like blasphemy to a lot of you. I don't have to set them right. God will. Believe that? If we believe that, then let's stop being so argumentative. Let's stop trying to prove our point all the time, prove our rightness all the time as though it makes us matter and it makes things better. Have you ever argued someone into a better relationship? At the end of the argument, you generally have to do repair, right? From all the wounds that got inflicted during the argument. So if I know that, why am I tempted to believe, and why do I steadfastly believe that I will argue my way into something better? I argue my way into something worse. What David says in verse 13 and 15 is, God, you deal with them. So read, here's what it says. Rise up, Lord, confront them. Bring them down. With your sword, rescue me from the wicked. By your hand, save me from such people, Lord. From those of this world whose reward is in this life. May what you have stored up for the wicked fill their bellies. May their children gorge themselves on it, and may there be leftovers for their little ones. As for me, I will be vindicated and will see your face. When I awake, I will be satisfied with seeing your likeness. David says, I know me. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm about. You take care of them. You take care of them. All of those other voices in your life that are saying things that aren't true,
things that aren't true, that are saying things that aren't kind, that are saying things that God doesn't say. If they are in disagreement with God, I am inviting you today to hand them over to the Lord.
If they are outsiders,
if they are people outside of you, if they are close to you, you trust God to correct them.
You don't need to do it.
You don't need to do it for the sake of your value or for justice. You leave them to the Lord. There are times where God will say, well, I need you to speak up, and if you do,
that's fine.
That's fine.
But it's not
because you need to feel vindicated.
It's because you are convinced
that God needs you to speak for some reason.
I understand
how
much faith it takes to make that choice. Because it's not my nature to make that choice. But I'm saying there is freedom in this. And there's even peace and rest in this. If you trust those who are wrong to the Lord, you can rest secure that God can take care of it. Can God take care of those people? I mean, if you really believe that, can you trust those people to God? And God will take care of it. So let's start walking like David here. Because when I give these people of the Lord what I'm believing is that God is faithful and just. That God won't miss anything. That God won't fail to do what's right. He's got it. He's going to save me from these people. Does God save us from those people? Well, maybe not. Doesn't always feel like He's saved us from the hurt or whatever. But ultimately, God saves us from such people. And ultimately, I think this. Sometimes God would be a lot more quick to save us if we weren't so busy trying to save ourselves. God's like, oh, okay, you got it. All right. Go ahead. Let me know when you're done trying, because I got it. But if you want to go first, maybe we would find a lot more of the love of God and the protection of God poured out on our lives if we weren't so busy stepping in to protect ourselves, to guard our territory, to make sure everybody knows what we think is right. David says, as for me, I will be vindicated and will see your face. When I awake, I will be satisfied with seeing your likeness. It means, folks, we have to let it go. The only way you really and permanently let it go is to believe that God can deal with them. David says by faith. It doesn't matter when. It could be now. It could be tomorrow. It could be in eternity. But you've got it, God. The last word on me will be God's word on me. Who's going to have the last word on you?